Hey guys, so we're here back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the NECA Toys Disney Gargoyles Ultimate Bronx with Cloak Wings for Goliath. And before we get into it, let us first take a look-see at both the front and the back of the packaging. So without further ado, let's get into it. And before we get into the meat and taters of this review, Bronxy here does come with a few accessories. First up, Bronxy comes with two different head sculpts, the first of which is this more calm and stoic looking head sculpt. Now, it should be worth noting that it does have a hinged jaw, so you can actually get some different expressions out of it. The second of which is this more aggressive looking head sculpt with a permanent open mouth sculpted onto it. It should be worth noting that you can open the jaw just about as wide as the jaw is sculpted on this head sculpt. That said, you can't really put this head on the figure that way. Things just get in the way and whatnot. And it also lacks the intensity and aggression that this head sculpt has. That said, Bronxy does come with a meat log, so you can give him a bit of a treat for being a good boy. And if you give him a treat, you better not take it away from him, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't feel like becoming this thing's lunch anytime soon. And last but certainly not least, especially in this case, Bronx comes with the first set of cloaked and or draped wings for good old Goliath here. And this is going to start a trend that NECA announced sometime last year before Goliath came out, that smaller characters like Bronx and Lexington and human characters like Eliza Maza will come with cloak wings for the bigger gargoyle characters. So fingers crossed we see some more smaller characters in this line, because we still got Demona and Thalog who are unspoken for as far as this cloak wing thing is concerned. So fingers crossed again, we see those at some point in the near to distant future. That said, I wouldn't mind seeing something in between at some point, but for now, this is definitely going to help omit the space problem this line has had since this Goliath figure came out. One less thing for y'all to bitch about, as I like to say. So with that being said, let's now move on to the aesthetics and articulation. Taking a closer look at our big, lovable gargoyle pooch Bronx here. I love this figure. This figure's awesome. My only nitpicky minor gripe thing with this figure is that I wish the lighter color on the bottom was a little bit, not really different, but I wish there was more contrast between it and the dark blue of the upper half of his body, because your boy can't see that well, and that kind of just blends together. Other than that, that's a me problem. Most of you guys, that's probably not that big of a deal, so we're just gonna omit that even exists, because this figure is a chunky boy, and he is awesome. That said, did homeboy always have horns? I'm tripping here, because my old Kenner figure doesn't appear to have any horns, and I don't recall the Funko Pop having them either. And those are, for the most part, you know, with the Kenner line, you got to take that with a grain of salt. They're based off the initial source material from the cartoon, and NECA's kind of doing their own thing, so I don't know if he had horns and NECA just decided to make them a little bit more pronounced, but I'm okay with it. They are kind of odd shape. They look more like eyebrows on a Don Bluth character than horns, but at any rate, they do look cool. You're going to want to be careful not to break them off, though. But at any rate, he looks awesome, man. I love this figure. I didn't have any problems with this figure either. Just give me a quick 360 of him. I don't know what else you're supposed to do with the dog character, but I think NECA hit it out of the park with this guy. This is definitely top 10 figures of the year so far, which stay tuned this weekend. We're going to be talking about that a little bit for the monthly overview of March. I know we're like a week into April, but on that, I do what I want. At any rate, though, As far as articulation on this guy is concerned, he's got a double ball peg in the head that you can shift around. Pretty decent range out of that. He's got the opening jaw, as I mentioned before. And if you get his head situated right, you can open it up quite a bit. Not as much as the alternate head, but still pretty decent. I didn't have to heat up anything on this guy either. He does have this kind of ball jointed neck too, which shifts all around. That's pretty cool. It does get stuck here and there, but it's a cool piece. I like that it can move around as much as it does. He's got a soft rubbery torso, so be mindful of that when you're kind of trying to pose him around. You don't want to chip any of the paint off here. I don't think it'll come off, but you know, just be wary of it. As far as his front legs are concerned, his shoulder can go out to the side and back down. He's got ball hinges on all of them, or disc hinges, I should say. You can rotate them. No real detents in this guy, at least not up there. But he does have a swivel at the elbow, his front leg. He also has a hinged front leg. A hinge in the front leg, excuse me. That can move pretty far. Yeah, that's about as far as it's going to go. I don't want to push it anymore. But you can move it, I think, a decent amount. It's basically like one click, but what do you need out of a dog, really? Or even any quadrupedal character, you know? But again, he's got the rotation here. It's kind of useless, though, because all it does is, like, it just changes the sculpt. It doesn't really do anything for articulation. But he does have a rotation here, and then a hinge at this front kind of ankle piece, and then he's got the same thing going on with the toe. And he also has a rocker there. So you could definitely get this guy on all fours. I don't think that's going to be an issue. He's got the spikes on his back, which are a little bit more cone-shaped in the series, and I think on the Kenner figure, if I remember correctly, but this is fine. It's good enough. He's got a ball joint in the tail back here. This is another kind of nitpicky thing. I wish the tail could go down more, just to be a little bit more relaxed, but this is whatever. This is fine. It's relaxed enough, I guess, but I would have liked to have just had it flush against his bum there. At any rate, he does have a ball hinge hips back here, much like the other gargoyles. So he's got the big barbell going through the crotch there. I'm surprised they didn't do that up here. He's clearly got a disc hinge, so that's interesting. I did not know that. That said, these are a little tighter because of that, so be mindful of that, but you can get it to move around. You can also get a little bit of rotation out of that, but not a lot. He does have a swivel here at the hind knee, as well as a single hinge. It does work pretty well. He also has ankle rocker and an ankle hinge and a toe hinge back here. But again, be weary of that. You don't want to break nothing. But I didn't have to heat anything on this guy to get it to move. But you can pose this guy all kinds of ways. He's got the rocker too. So really, really cool. He's got pig holes on the bottom of his feet, like everywhere, like in the toes and the little pads in the front here. Not quite sure why that is. I don't know if they plan on making a flight stand for him or anything, but that'd be kind of interesting, because Bronx did have a tendency to pounce people and whatnot, and just kind of bone tackle them. Probably break half the bones in their body doing it. So that'll be interesting to see if those amount to anything, or if they're just there to be there. It should be worth noting that his torso has some give to it in the midsection here, but I don't believe there's any articulation to speak of. If there is, it's super hindered due to this kind of rubber skin he's got going on, and yeah, I don't think there's any range in this area. There's nothing that I can get to work anyways. There's no rotation, there's no nothing. I think it might just be the plastic itself is kind of a PVC material, and it's just plugged in there. But that's pretty much Bronx in a nutshell. Arguably the best figure in the line, because I didn't have to put any freaking Elmer's glue in him, which is a plus in my book. I don't mind not doing that. I don't mind doing it, but not doing it means the figure is a little bit better, obviously. But yeah, Bronx. Kind of curious why they went with the rubber skin on the torso. Maybe we're going to get other gargoyle dogs in the future. I know there was Boudica in the Avalon clan, the green gargoyle dog. And then I think there was one in the Ishimuru, the clan from Japan there. That rhymed, didn't it? But at any rate, you can't go wrong with a Frank Welker voice character. That's right! Bronxy here was voiced by Fred Jones, aka Megatron and Soundwave. So, with that being said, jokes aside, let us now move on and take a look at some size comparisons. First up, here's our new NECA Bronx next to his vintage counterpart from ye old Kenner line. And I said it in the Demona review, I'm gonna say it here, just look at how far we've come. Next up, here he is alongside a couple other figures I've already taken a look at from the NECA Toys Gargoyles Ultimates line, Demona and Goliath, complete with Cloak Wings. Up next, here he is next to a couple other figures that walk on all fours, the Hasbro PulseCon exclusive Dungeons & Dragons Gwenvere, and the Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Series Alpha Commandos Timber. And for those of you wondering, yes, Bronx is the newest addition to the Overlord Zoo. And last but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulas, Love and Spawn, who as usual towers over everyone, because spoiler alert, Bronxy is a dog after all. So with that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, and of all the Gargoyles Ultimates figures I've taken a look at thus far, Bronxy here is by far the best one. Mostly because I didn't have to put any freaking Elmer's glue in it, but at the end of the day, he's the least cumbersome of the bunch and probably the most fun, even though he's not the most articulate or even dynamic of all the NECA Toys Gargoyles Ultimates figures. He's the most solid, and that's really what you boys always looking for when it comes to figures, is how solid is it? Can I stand it up and not have to screw with it? And that is exactly what Bronx is. And on top of that, he does come with the Cloak Wings for good old Goliath there, and while I do feel that they help omit the space problem a lot of people have with this line initially, these are still massive in their own right and will take up their own amount of shelf space. Maybe not nearly as much as the big old honkin' massive wings Goliath came with originally, but still. That said, I wouldn't mind seeing something in between, maybe a half-closed, half-open wing, because if memory serves me right, that's how the Gargoyles were seen most of the time in the show. Anywho, that said, I hope NECA can find a way to offer those to us that's cost-effective, and it's not just, here is a box full of wings. You know what I'm saying? That said, also, for those of you who have been paying attention to this line since its conception, know that Randy from NECA has announced that smaller characters like Bronx, Lexington, and human characters like Elisa, and I can only assume we're going to get Xanatos and many, many more in the near to distant future, will come with alternate wings for the Gargoyle characters. So keep that in mind when you're buying these. There will be more Cloak Wings to go around. It's just that this line is slowly starting to expand and grow, and I can't tell you how excited I am to finally complete the core Gargoyles team with Brooklyn, Hudson, Broadway, and Lexington, hopefully coming out later this year. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you are so inclined, please don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. If you haven't already, please hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions. But as always, keep the comments civil. The world sucks enough as it is. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later.